What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Laird here, host of the Advice from a Call Center Geek podcast and founder of Expivia. For exceptional contact center outsourcing, trust Expivia. We're fully AI-driven, as all of you know, and can handle voice, email, chat, and all of your digital channels. Our 600-seat USA contact center is expert in healthcare, financial services, insurance, tech support, retail, and more. Experts on the NICE CX1 platform, we ensure seamless customer experiences. DM me or visit expiviausa.com for more.
This is Advice from a Call Center Geek, a weekly podcast with a focus on all things call center. We'll cover it all from call center operations, hiring, culture, technology, and education. We're here to give you actionable items to improve the quality of yours and your customers' experience. This is an evolving industry with creative minds and ambitious people like this guy. Not only is his passion call center operations, but he's our host. He's the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing Group and the call center geek himself, Tom Laird.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Advice from a Call Center Geek, the call center and contact center podcast. We try to give you some actionable items, take back into your contact center, improve the overall quality, improve the agent experience, hopefully improve the customer experience as well. How's everybody doing? For those of you who do not know me, which would be, I think, surprising by now, my name is Tom Laird. I'm the CEO of Expivia Interaction Marketing, which is a contact center outsourcer located here in the old US of A. Also the CEO and founder of Auto QA, where we're fully automating contact center quality assurance scoring with AI and LLMs. 2024, it's been I think really one for the books as it relates to contact center technology, CX technology, AI. You know, there's so much that has happened, so many new tools that have come out. The emergence of ChatGPT was found out about late, maybe in the middle of 2023, but 2024 is the year that people really started to use it. And I think we've seen some amazing companies and tools come out, and we've also seen some disruption in a lot of certain areas of contact center technology. I don't see a lot of these larger companies, sometimes they're not moving as quickly as they probably should be with the technology that is coming out, because the technology and the LLMs and how AI is being utilized, prompting techniques, the new tools that are coming out with the LLMs, it's really evolving and allowing a lot of niche players in the space to start to have a say. We've seen this with our Auto QA platform. Right. To have, really a startup with very little amounts of money to be able to gain traction by moving quicker. And I think extremely less expensive than a lot of the larger contact centers. So again, what I want to do today, and I've done this, for the last, 4 or 5 years of the podcast, is give my kind of 2025 predictions, what I see as evolving and will start to become more mainstream in 2025. Some things that maybe we don't even see right now. Some things that have been happening for the last couple of years, but maybe really start to show in 2025. So, we're going to focus a lot on the technology side, but, there's some other pieces to this as well, from workforce management to coaching to doing those kind of things that I think we'll see some disruption and some evolution as well. Again, so live on Facebook, live on LinkedIn, live on X, and live on TikTok as well. Again, if anybody has any questions, please throw them out there. I can see on my desktop here, anybody on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I'm on my phone here on TikTok if you guys have any questions as well. So let me start with, and again, this is in no particular order. This is in nothing that I think is, more important than another. These are just my thoughts over the last, couple weeks as I'm putting this to. Hi, Sarah. Sarah says hi on LinkedIn. Good to see you, buddy. Of what the evolution of this thing looks like. So again, the first thing I want to talk about, and I've been wrong on this the last couple of years, but I really am starting to see it now, and I've actually seen it with our actual customers at Expivia, is the beginning of the end for CSAT and NPS scoring, right? So customer satisfaction and net promoter scoring start to go away. Right? The surveys, those painful, brutal surveys that, are either at the end of a call, those surveys that get emailed to you, the end is nigh for these guys. We've talked a lot about this on the podcast, right? When we've said, The problem with NPS and CSAT is, again, you're just getting a small portion of customers who want to respond, and they either probably had an unbelievably great experience or they had a horrific experience, right? And you miss all those people in the middle. And that's what really gives the true, I think, impact of what a CSAT or an NPS scoring is. So what takes that place is, initially it was just sentiment scoring, but now we're starting to get into AI-driven sentiment scoring, really looking at a predictive analysis on what that customer would have said on those surveys, right? We have actually tested that at Auto, and I'm not ready to roll that tool out yet, but if us and our kind of small staff is playing with that, I think that there's some really large enterprise technology providers that are thinking about that as well, right? And we have seen correlations to asking specific or certain questions, or having AI ask those questions, and getting responses back from AI that correlate really well with CSAT and NPS. And you're getting it on 100% or a huge swath of your calls, right? So you can really start to kind of drill down on a customer journey a little bit more than just, asking that, would you recommend me to, would you recommend our company to one of your friends? Right? Or how satisfied were you with X? So again, I see the end coming for the surveys, the manual surveys for CSAT and NPS. The second thing that I want to talk about is real-time translation. And we're starting to see that roll out now. Nice CX1 has a tool. Google has a tool. There's some other kind of third parties that have tools as well. This is something that has been, I thought, would be one of the low-hanging fruits of AI, but it's evolved now into something that I think is a product that can be used, and the lag times they're not terrible, right? So I've tested a couple different tools with those, and it's really quick. It's getting to the point now where I think it's usable. Where before it was, the translation lagged so long that it was very difficult. But with AI really driving that, I think you start to see more and more of that, which is cool for a contact center like me, right, in Erie, Pennsylvania, with just agents that normally we have English speaking, obviously, and then we have Spanish speaking agents. But to be able to now go market into other German and French and look at some of those things that are even in Europe or in other parts of the world, and have a tool that we can do real time translation, I think is a huge benefit to so many different organizations that'll be out there. And you're going to start to see kind of the Sonos, the real time accent as well, right? So if you're, let's say you're in the Philippines or you're in India and you call into the United States, right, and you're calling Dallas, Texas, right, with maybe there's a little bit of a southern drawl, right? It's going to be able to kind of nuance your voice as well, to really kind of match who you're talking to. So there's a lot of that coming out as well with kind of, and again, there's some controversy with that, right? Of masking, maybe somebody from the Philippines or India's voice, right, to match some type of American voice. But, that's kind of I think the cool evolution of where some of this AI technology is happening. And that's going to become more prevalent in the BPO and the outsourcing space. And, I think allow, maybe unfortunately or fortunately, some cost savings that will happen, because you can use an offshore center and use the voice then of somebody who's a little bit more of a cultural fit. All right, let's talk about coaching. I have a lot of kind of experience here with what we're doing with Auto, and it's OTTOQA, right? With Auto QA, right? So we are scoring, and again, I think I didn't even put it on my list because I didn't want to seem salesy, but I guess I'll talk about it a little bit. There's no reason, right? Unless you have something that is crazy complex, or you're using a ton of visual cues, right? So like when you're doing QA, did the agent click something in their Salesforce, or did they do a drop down, or did they input something correctly, right? Because AI is still struggling a little bit, right, with doing the visual and doing video from a screen recording. But to score calls, like if you have just a regular regular calls, right, that you are scoring on an Excel spreadsheet, on a Google sheet, or you're using a QA tool and you're manually scoring calls, I think it's that's going away extremely quickly. We have accuracies of 95%, which is more accurate than if you score a call and I score a call, right? We're going to be off a little bit, right? Our tool is going to be 95%, which is calibrated more than two human scoring calls. So that kind of goes away. But I think there's an evolution to that too. Like some of the stuff that we're working on that I think is awesome, right? And I've talked a little bit about this before. It's called Redo, or we're calling it Redo.ai. It's not a great name, at least it's the working name. Where, and you can play with this too. You can take a transcript and you can take, where the agent talked and the customer talked. And let's say that on this call, the agent really struggled. They didn't show empathy. Maybe they didn't cross-sell. They didn't use the customer's name appropriately, whatever that thing is, right? They did poorly on that call, right? We can then take out what the agent said, just leave what the customer said, send it to AI, use like an 11 Labs, use an AI voice, and have the agent talk to the same customer, which the AI avatar of that same customer that they just struggled with. So after we coach, we can then go through and instead of her and I or him and I role playing together, they can actually go talk to the customer again. And this time show empathy. This time do the things that they didn't do. Right. So really cool technology from the contact center agent space when it comes to training, when it comes to some of the tools that we can utilize to make the agents better. And I think, there's a lot that goes into that, right? With what we're seeing on the AI bot and that kind of first touch point self-service using AI, which, obviously is evolving, right? So we really need to make sure that if anything does come to the agent, that we have our agents really tuned in to, to be able to give a really awesome experience, because that's going to be the differentiator, right? Everybody's going to have AI, but then when it comes to the agent, right, that there's going to be a huge differentiation there. Which that's a whole another podcast and whole other ideas that I have on that. But I think you'll start to see some of that. One of the things that I think is kind of cool that I have been demoing and seeing is kind of the next step of agent assist, which I guess it's the next step, which is kind of real-time scripting, right? So again, if you have disclosure compliance issues, if you have sales aspects and really good rebuttals that you want agents to use, right, to have as the real-time transcription happen on both ends. And instead of agent assist where, maybe we're just prompting for some specific things, giving the agent data, like things that we can do now, but really getting deeper into the intent and the outcome, right, of what's happening on that call, right? What do we want the outcome to be? And how do we get that? And how do we get that agent to get there? So again, to take away as much of the training aspect, right, to make those cycles much shorter because we're giving the tools. I think that, the real-time scripting is something really cool. And I think with the real-time scripting, you need a lot of integrations, right? And this is something that I'm seeing that, and again, if you've listened to me at all, you know that we are failing miserably as an industry in the contact center world and really AI in general with integrations and with our knowledge management, right? I have so many customers that come to me, right, and be like, hey, Tom, we'd love to outsource with you. Can you take, 20 or 30% of our calls, move them to AI, move them to a self-service model? And I'll be like, yeah, sure. Can I see your KMS? What integrations do you have? How do we articulate? And like, well, we don't have any of that. And that's the theme that I'm seeing over and over and over again. Like I said, if I had to start another company, and maybe I will, right, it would be a KMS, a SMB knowledge management platform that is extremely easy to use. Because once you can do that, once you get all that knowledge management in there, once you get as many things integrated as you possibly can, there's so many really cool things from a real-time scripting tool to even looking at dashboards, right? I've been calling for the end of dashboards since last year. And I think I've evolved a little bit on that. I don't see the end of dashboards, but prompting for what dashboard that you want, right? So, let's say that you have a really built out infrastructure where you have your telephony platform, fully automated and integrated into all of your CRM. And it's into all your data. It's into all of your sales aspects and your sales data, lead generation. Like you have all of this stuff, right, from a reporting aspect, right? So instead of getting canned reports or setting up widgets, to really be able to talk like, hey, I'd like to see the top 10 sales guys that I had yesterday. What were the service level on our top 3 programs? Asking those type of questions, and then boom, having now you don't want to do that every day, right? But to have different aspects of what you can think about instead of some pre-built widgets, right? But you're actually prompting for the information that you want based on everything that you have integrated. And I think that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a huge deal, right? The reporting aspect in the contact center space is really focused on telephony metrics, right? So sales, service level, and handle time, and agent performances, and things on the call. If you have some integrations, we can pull in some sales data, and some organizations do that. But to really, dig into all the aspects and to be able to pull all this information from one kind of large language or AI model really makes kind of the dashboard a cool kind of living and breathing thing that I think in 2025 we start to see. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's what Tom was talking about. I've seen a little bit of this in a demo standpoint, and I think that really evolves. Let's talk about, again, my industry just really quick, because I know it's probably not as interesting as some of the other stuff, but in the BPO and the outsourcing space, this model needs to be flipped on its head, right? We went and said that we were just an organization that provides agents, really high-end agents, and has a lot of technology background, and we're really skilled in the technology side. Well, now it's flipped on its head to where we are an AI technology partner for our companies or our customers, and we also focus on the outsourcing and the agents, right? So that's where things kind of really change, is because companies just don't need, especially here in the States where we're a little bit more expensive, right? You need a technology partner that can help you, that can evolve, that can do your integrations, that can help you build an AI roadmap, that can help you build a KMS, right? Help you do all of these things to get where you need to be from an AI standpoint, but also, can scale you from an agent standpoint for those things that maybe you need right now. And that's the huge evolution that we're seeing in the BPO space. And that's the differentiator now between, I think, a lot of BPOs, right? Not just being hey, I got 50 headcount, right, that we can throw at your program, but how do we use technology better? How do we become a consultant that can lower your headcount, use technology, give you analytics, give you insights, give you things that you would never get with your internal center, and then also have unbelievably world-class agents, right? And when you can merge those things, that's going to be the successful BPOs, and that's kind of hopefully we're kind of positioning ourselves, right, to be that type of organization to help our customers, get on a roadmap that they feel comfortable with AI, so that we can start to lower headcount, start to give more self-service, and again, use the analytics, using these dashboards, using all these kind of really cool AI tools, fully automating their quality assurance, right? So that they can look and know that 100% or 80% or whatever that number is of their calls are all being scored, and they can look at it, right, at any time that they want. That's kind of the cool evolution of what is happening. And it's happened like that, like literally in the last 12 to 15 months, this industry's kind of been thrown on its head. So it's kind of been interesting, from that standpoint. With that, the pricing models of all this stuff is starting to change. And this is where you can differentiate yourself if you're kind of getting into this space. Everybody uses a giant setup fee, right? In the contact center technology world, huge setup fees per seat licenses, right? And, minimums of at least a year, but most are 3 years. So that's kind of the starting place for all of these kind of enterprise guys. And I think it's given us and a lot of other companies that are coming on board a huge way to differentiate by having low setup fees and a usage model, right? With AI, right, we don't have to do the hourly deal, right? We can now say, hey, how many of these do you want? I'm talking from a quality assurance standpoint. How many calls do you want scored a month, right? Let's just charge you for that. Let's not charge a seat license. Like, I can't stand, like, let's say you have an agent and your agent works the first through the third and then quits and leaves town and goes to another job. Well, you still have to pay that whole month, right? I think that's it's garbage. Like, that stuff blows my mind. It's really frustrating. If you forget to deactivate an agent, you end up paying for them. Then you got to go fight with the provider that you're using to try to get that cost off. Like, it's this constant struggle. And if you're not on top of it, they get you. So again, I think that's a huge way to differentiate. Start to look at usage models with lower seat licenses. Lower setup fees, and hopefully the big guys start to see that as well, and kind of make some changes. Unfortunately, I still see that enterprise level voice technology AI, right? When you're talking about a self-service, is still an enterprise, very large company thing, right? No one else, unless you have a full team in-house, which still makes it really expensive, can really do a lot of this unless you're very technologically advanced. I will tell you, I'm part of the NICE CX1 Executive Customer Council. And I'm not going to name a name, but there's a Fortune 10, 25, now probably 10 company that is on the board as well. And they were talking about, using AI in their app. And it's a sales company, retail kind of company, B2C. And they are only right now running 1% of their traffic through their AI, right? Now, 1% is a huge amount for this company, but they're still having a ton of data issues, right? They said, the AI will go find something on a website from like 1997, right, to do a price match. And it started doing price matches with, 2024 prices for certain products, right? So there's a lot that really goes into what happens when you want to go full AI, and really, to have a team on your KMS, a team that can integrate all your stuff, a team that can then program and kind of train the LLM depending on how you're utilizing it. It's still really expensive, right? The actual usage is not that expensive. The setting things up, the getting things programmed, it's not an SMB tool yet. And I do not see any type of AI rolling to an SMB. I mean, you look at what Salesforce is doing, you look at what some of these really large companies are doing. That's great, but it's for that Fortune 500. It's for the giant enterprise type companies. And again, I'm hopeful that, again, like what we're trying to do with auto, with what other companies I know are starting to come, that there's such an untapped market in the SMB space for AI because they're getting left out. And I don't see, them really getting to be a big player or having a lot of tools for them other than kind of these agent level tools at first, unless you get something really, really bad. Because there's still my chatbot is great.ai companies that are saying, hey, we can automate everything. Just give us an FAQ. And then you pay $30,000 and you realize what you paid for, which was garbage. Right. So again, having a company, I think in 2024, 2025, that can help you build out the infrastructure to get you ready, right, for AI is more important than kind of, going all in, spending a ton of money that you're not ready for and getting a tool that just really kind of isn't there. The good thing is, though, is that the cost to work with LLMs is not that expensive, right? And I think because of that, you're seeing more and more players come into the space, and these large enterprises are going to have to start to kind of differentiate. They're going to have to change a little bit with what they're doing because there's so many really good tools, and the competition is going to start to get pretty fierce in specific models. Like I love, with our auto QA tool, we're just focused on QA scoring. Right. I'm not trying to get into analytics. I'm not trying to get into agent assist. I'm not trying to do multiple kind of AI tools. We're just focused on one thing, trying to be kind of like that craft beer, that artisanal cheese, right? Of one piece of contact center AI QA or AI technology. And you can get really good at one thing, right? And I think everybody's trying to do everything. All these kind of big analytics companies are trying to do all of this other stuff, and kind of they're missing the mark on some of it. Let's see what else. Check my notes here one more time. Real-time scripting, KMS. Oh, again, I know I kind of touched on that, but you're about to see a KMS evolution, right? With companies coming out, the need for it is just so vast, especially in the smaller space. That if you want to make a buck, right, start a KMS tool, because I think the need for that is just so huge. But yeah, I think that's really what I got for 2025. We'll obviously, I mean, I don't really need to talk too much on the kind of the AI bot. Like, that's going to continue to evolve. I'm sure it will continue to get better, but I'm just hopeful that 2025 is the year that the infrastructure catches up with that technology, because our infrastructure, right, from a KMS, from integrations, it just is not there for the vast majority of companies. And the companies that have all that have almost too much data that they need to clean, that they need to figure out. So again, it kind of goes both ways with what's good, what's not. But it's going to be interesting no matter what. 2025, I think, is really the first year that people have a good grasp on at least what the models can do today, right? Before, we didn't really know. There's a lot of experimentation, but actual tools are now out. We're getting use cases where we're using them. So, there's going to be an evolution of that. And who knows what happens with these models, right? They could go through the roof in 2025 with the ChatGPT 5 or, any of that stuff that comes out. It could be pretty crazy. So again, hopefully that gives you a little bit of thought into kind of where I see things going, and have a great 2025. We'll talk to everybody next year. All right, TikTok.